This is episode 27 with Yanik Silver. Hi, my name is Mike Dillard, and this is Self-Made Man, the podcast for men who want to leave their mark on the world and create a legacy of honor, integrity, and achievement in every aspect of their lives. I'm glad you're here, and once again, it is time to forge your destiny. So is it possible to do well in business while doing good for the world? And is it also possible to expand your contribution beyond the customers who use your products? Well, that's the question we're going to tackle today with a gentleman who's had a huge impact on my life over the past 10 years, Mr. Yanik Silver. And Yanik is one of the original godfathers of internet marketing and one of my very first mentors. And in fact, the first internet marketing event of any kind that I ever attended was hosted by Yanik back in 2006, as I was just starting to sell my very first ebook, Magnetic Sponsoring. But more importantly, at least to me, he's also responsible for my introduction to motorsports. Yes, Yanik is the one who got me into racing cars back in 2008 when he took a group of entrepreneurs with his Maverick Business Adventures company down to Baja Mexico for a 3-day off-roading adventure trip with Jesse James. And from that moment forward, I was hooked. Within a few months, I'd be pulling up to the starting line at the longest, most dangerous race in the world, the Baja 1000, which still to this day has been the biggest adventure of my life. Well, today I wanted to bring Yanik onto the podcast for a very important reason. Over the past year or two, he and I have both noticed a huge trend in business, and there are a few names for this trend. Some call it conscious capitalism, some call it for better business, and Yanik calls it an evolved enterprise. And really, this is the practice of doing well in business while also doing good for the world. The trend is absolutely growing. It's becoming huge with the millennials, and the entrepreneurs who are inspired to adopt this practice have much to gain in the form of sales and branding and global impact, also in personal happiness and frankly in karma. So should you turn your company into an evolved enterprise, and how do you do that? What does this mean? Well, please help me welcome Yanik Silver to the show, and let's find out. All right, welcome back, everybody. Mike Dillard here, and today we are joined by a very good friend of mine. I almost want to say lifelong friend, Yanik, because we've known each other for so long. It's hard to believe that it's been about 10 or 11 years now, but my good friend Yanik Silver, who was one of my first mentors in this industry when I first pursued my entrepreneurial dreams, if you will, and we've become very good friends over the last decade. So Yanik, welcome to Self-Made Man.
Hey, Mike, thanks. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, brother. It has been way too long. You and I have been often in the midst of family, kids, all of our business ventures, and it's just been too long. So if you wouldn't mind, fill me in on what you've been up to over the last couple of years and share a little bit about the details behind your current ventures right now for the listeners out there who are not familiar and who are hearing from you for the very first time.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess where my story kind of starts is like 3:00 in the morning in January 2000. Woke up with this idea for a site called Instant Sales Letters, and I literally had no technical skills whatsoever, but still managed to put it up through the help of some tech people. And I still don't have any technical skills whatsoever, but
something that you and I have in common.
Yeah, which I don't think is such a bad thing sometimes. And that went on like in 3 months. It was on track to do 6 figures, and people were like, "Whoa, how did you do that?" And maybe you can teach me. And that turned into this whole other sort of career of helping other people take their content or expertise or passion and put it up online and sell their information and sell their knowledge. And so that, really turned into this really kind of amazing opportunity to meet some great people. And that's where you and I met, where you came in and we worked through some of the things that you were doing, and you were able to really take your expertise in the direct selling industry and just really make a go out of it there. And you've been able to do so many other things since then. But I looked at my life like 8 years ago. I think everyone has these kind of like, I don't know, cosmic alarm clocks that go off. And I looked at my life and I was like, am I really happy what I'm doing? And from the outside in, it's making great money, had a great family, great reputation, which isn't always that easy in the online space. And, just things looked really good. But honestly, I just wasn't totally happy. And I'm like, all right, well, that's weird. So, there's got to be a reason, and there's got to be something more. And so I started brainstorming and thinking. I do a lot of thinking in my journals, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm happiest when I'm hanging out with really cool, smart entrepreneurs and doing cool things, and we're talking about business, and we're somehow making a difference. And that turned into Maverick Business Adventures, and that was I can't remember if you were on the original first trip or not. You might have been.
Yeah, that was. I was going to give you credit. You were the one who got me into motorsports.
Yeah, Baja racing.
Yeah, down in the Baja trip, obviously down in Mexico with Jesse James.
Yeah. So on that trip, and I don't know if you know this or not, but I lost like $40,000 on it on that first one, and I'm like, it's fine. It's an investment. And fast forward, hiring some people we probably didn't need to hire when we weren't ready for them, or different things, and just didn't really have a business model for it, and invested about $400,000 into it. And my wife's like, well, what are you doing? I'm like, good question. I don't know. And if, it forced me to really look at my why. And if my why wasn't big enough at this moment, I wasn't just creating an adventure travel company. Like, that wasn't my big why. I didn't see that as the most meaningful work I could do in the world. And so I really had to step back, and I'm actually really thankful for some of those setbacks, because it forced me to look at, okay, what do I really want to do here? And the big picture started emerging of this entire ecoverse of these different peer-to-peer groups that are transformative. One called Maverick 1000, which is the global group that you've been a part of before. And then we have some local chapters we're running, and we have a young entrepreneur group, and then a whole educational hub, and then this ideation kind of hub, and how they all interconnect. And to me, that was like, oh yeah, this is worth it. And then I started building out some of these philosophies and frameworks that are becoming what I now call an evolved enterprise. And, it came from hanging out with people like Tony Hsieh from Zappos, or Chip Conley from Joie de Vivre Hotels. And obviously Sir Richard Branson's been a huge influence on me. And, I could go down the list. But it's like all those people are like, I've been able to learn so much from them, and how they build their companies to really actually make a difference and do something that matters. And that's what the evolved enterprise has become. It's just like this overlaid framework for connecting, the ways that we can actually make a difference with our work, put out our most meaningful work, get our customers to want to buy more, get our team engaged in a deeper way around a bigger mission, and all of it drives bottom line. And that's where I'm really excited about.
Well, so let's dive into that, because that's why we connected, and why I wanted to have you on the show this week is, I'd say over the last couple of years, you and I have identified a similar trend around the world when it comes to business, which is that companies, one, now have the opportunities thanks to technology, but they also have the incentive based on what they've seen from revenue growth and sales growth, that they can do really, really well as companies and as entrepreneurs by doing really, really good. And if I could sum up what an evolved enterprise is in a nutshell, that would be how I put it. And this is something that you've dove into head first. So how would you sum up an evolved enterprise if differently? And, how did you start down this path?
So, I think, Mike, you pretty much hit it on the head. And I think a lot of people are talking about it from different ways, and it's all converging in one spot, like whether it's triple bottom line or conscious capitalism or, social enterprise, whatever it is. But to me, the evolved enterprise is all about like aligning this true soul of your business. And it's interesting to even think about a soul in your business or your company, and or even your own soul and what you want to do, and more impact, more meaning, and actual happiness. And all that surprisingly is interconnected, and surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, actually delivers better bottom line results. And there's been a couple really great examples that have come to the forefront. And this has been going on for a while, but it's been more of outliers. And companies more like over the years have focused really heavily on their culture. And that's kind of one piece of this diagram. So the diagram is it starts from you. Like it's all about evolving you personally. And then, because as the founder, we really cast some of the biggest shadows on our organization, and then having a cause. So our impact wrapped around what we're doing. So that big why. And then creating the community, which is the customers that want to buy more, become zealots for what you're doing, become huge advocates. The culture, which is internally, like getting a team aligned on a bigger mission and working through your core values, what you stand for. And then the creation itself. So baking in the impact through your product or service. And you put those pieces together, it's really magical.
So give us some examples of some businesses that you see currently following this methodology, and then How are you executing this in your businesses?
Sure. So, a couple things. So I talk about in Evolved Enterprise, like going from transactional to actually a transformational business to even transcending what business can be. And, I'll give an easy example that most people have probably seen or heard about is Tom's shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom's, they really, I don't think they pioneered it, but they've really made it pretty famous as this buy one, give one model. And so you buy a pair of shoes, they give a pair of shoes away to another child in need somewhere else. And you look at it from a marketing standpoint, it's great because it's a story that is easy to share. It's, people really get it. It's simple. And then it also changes their identity. So, the community piece, like it changes their identity of who they are. They're someone that wants to make a difference in the world just through their purchase. And Tom's, believe it or not, you might know this, but they're a $300 million plus company right now.
Mm.
And so, on the pragmatic side of things, it works really well. And they were able to get partnerships like early on with like Nordstrom's and then front windows of in big New York City retailers. I can't remember if it was either Bloomingdale's or Macy's. I think it was Macy's, and that's prime space in those front windows because of their impact. And so it opens up all sorts of unique partnership opportunities with companies that want to kind of jump on that halo effect that you have with the impact that you're doing. And so that's, one really great example. And then it also allows you to do something like I call this an impact scoreboard. And so I've had the good fortune of interviewing Blake Mykoski, who founded Tom's. And so when we do our interview, he's talking to me about 35 million pairs of shoes that they've given away. So that's their impact scoreboard. And it's something that everyone on the team can look at. And they know from those 35 million pairs of shoes that they've profitably sold 35 million pairs of shoes. And so it's a really exciting metric to look at, not just revenue wise, but as a byproduct, it drives revenue.
Now, give us some clarity on what this exactly looks like, right? Because there's probably some people who are listening to this and thinking, well, gosh, if I'm selling an ebook on, X, Y, or Z, is it as simple as just saying and putting in my sales and marketing materials on my websites that 5% of all profits go to the Make-A-Wish Foundation or whatever it may be? Is there do you understand what I'm saying?
I totally understand. So there's yes and no, right? So, I think it has to come from a place that's authentic and genuine. And if it doesn't, you're pretty quickly going to get smoked out. So if this is done in a way that is just, Yanik told me that we should add this and it helps. And,
right.
And
it's
so,
like a conversion split test,
yeah,
right?
Believe it or not. I've seen split tests where I've had, one of our guys had a $2,000 Forex trading program and they put a little certificate on one page, A/B split, and not a certificate on the other. And the certificate said, we give $50 from each product sale to these different causes that we work with. And they actually had a 10% conversion bump. So yes, it works on that pragmatic level, which is exciting. And then I have, you probably know these guys, Josh Bozzoni and
yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So BioTrust, Josh is telling me that they've had a 15% conversion on their shopping cart by adding an optional donation to Make-A-Wish.
Mm.
And, they incorporate it into different parts of their copy and what they do. But it was really interesting. Like he said, it increased their shopping cart conversion, which is kind of fascinating. Like that really probably shouldn't have anything to do with it, but it does because they know that their purchase is going to also make a difference in some way, shape, or form. And they've raised now $1 million for Make-A-Wish, and it's been great. So yes, on that pragmatic level, on the tactical level, you can absolutely do this. Now it's going to bite you in the ass if you do it like, Kentucky Fried Chicken. They did a pink buckets of chicken thing for breast cancer awareness. They donate 50 cents to the Susan G. Komen Foundation. And it's just not from a really authentic place. I couldn't even figure out the tie-in until someone told me, oh yeah, well they sell breasts. I'm like, oh, got it. They sell breasts of chicken. I didn't get it. And then, via social media sort of backlash, they got slammed because a diet high in saturated fat has actually been proven to correlated with cancer. So it's like, it's got to be authentic. So yeah, you can add it and it totally works, but it gets really exciting and it really accelerates what you're doing when it makes an authentic tie-in and something that's really exciting. So I'll give you maybe a little known example, Mike. That's kind of cool. So when I talk about that transactional, transformational, transcending, this is to me like a transcending business, and it gets really exciting when it's actually used as a competitive advantage. So there's a company called Ultra Testing, and they do essentially user interface testing, like GUI type stuff, like all the whatever a front facing website has to go through for kind of just quality control type stuff. And so they hire people on the autism spectrum scale to work for them, because people with autism or kind of similar profiles, they actually have more abilities to be these exceptional software testers. Like they have good pattern recognition, focus, attention to detail. They're able to do repetitive tasks, and they're fine with that. And so by bringing them in as employees, and I have 11 different impact models I talk about in the book. This is called empowered employment. Like it actually creates this a competitive advantage, and that's what's so cool about it.
I'm sitting here thinking, personally. Well, there's two thoughts that occurred to me. One, it really is neat to hear that you can add, a giving component to your business, if you will, that will ideally increase sales, and it's as easy as just making a note of it on your shopping cart. So that's something I'm going to immediately go test. But part of that is, I have to say to everybody listening to this now, and it's sad that I have to say it, but I'm just going to anyway. There's a special place in hell for you if you put up something like this on your site and your marketing pieces, and then you don't actually donate the money to where you say you're going to donate it to, or use it how you say you're going to use it. So that's something you have to be very careful about, obviously.
But you know what, they're going to get figured out anyway.
Well, that's the point. Like someone somewhere is going to do something stupid, and I just want to dissuade them from doing that now.
Right. And it's just like when I, used to talk about persuasion and influences, like it can be used for good or it can be used for evil, essentially. And it's like, you can, like, why not actually start figuring out what drives you and what gets you so excited and so lit up. And we actually, as humans, we're actually wired that we get an even bigger kind of serotonin bump when we help others. And so kind of like the most selfish thing we can do is actually help others, like be as selfless as possible. And so business to me is one of the greatest ways of getting it out there, because it's not like donation based. It's not charity based. It's value creation. It's about exchange.
Agreed. And so what I'm thinking, for a very simple, easy, quick way for people to add this kind of component to their business, and ideally you'll see an increase in business so that you can spiral that upward, if you will, is to, well, here's an example. This year I joined The Well, which is a group of about 100 individuals and families that are significant donors to charitywater.org. And that's something that I've gotten very involved in over the last 12 months. So I donate at least $5,000 a month automatically to Charity Water every single month as a part of that commitment. And that's just a personal thing that I don't talk about. I don't have it on my website. It's just what I do because I believe in what they're doing. Now, it would be really interesting if I were to, make note of that on my sites and checkout pages and say, hey, a portion of, this sale goes to, or $5,000 worth of, sales of this product go to charitywater.org on a monthly basis, which is true because the money that I am donating is coming from my business. I've just never, made the direct correlation for people out there in the marketplace. So I think that would be a really interesting, easy way for people to at least play with this concept and this idea, is to just make a donation commitment or make a contribution commitment on your own, and don't worry about it being generated from the customers. And as the money comes in, then you can, just give credit for it, if you will.
There's lots of ways of doing it. And you can even start with, okay, I'm going to take one of my products, or I'm going to take, something. Like, it doesn't have to be everything. It doesn't have to be, like, you can figure out different ways of making an impact. And it doesn't even always have to be money. Even it could be, okay, we're going to, spend a day every 2 weeks, and we're gonna go into some different causes that our entire team cares about, and we're gonna contribute our talent and our capabilities in some way. So there's lots of ways we can do it. But I also believe in, just so to me, this part is kind of interesting. Is is that you can merge your head and your heart. So like the head to me is like the business side of things, your business sense, marketing, sales. And then your heart is obviously, where do you want to make an impact and where do you want to make a difference? And you don't get credit for anything that you don't educate people on. So it's like the old Claude Hopkins. You remember, probably studying scientific advertising, Claude Hopkins, like he talks about this really old story about Schlitz beer and how all these other beer manufacturers would claim, they take out huge double spread page ads and write pure, and everyone else was doing the same thing. But, Claude actually went and looked at, the mother yeast cell and how they dug this artesian well on the side of Lake Michigan and what they did to keep, the purification in place. And he told everyone about it. And so to me, it's like we have this great opportunity. Like the better we can tell our selling story, our creation story, our why we're doing this story, our, the baked in impact story, whatever it is, then you get credit for it. And then it turns into a bottom line increase.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So Yanik, your main gig for the last few years has been Maverick Business Adventures. How are you guys integrating, this strategy, if you will, into Maverick?
Yeah. So what we're doing with Maverick is there's a couple ways. I mean, this has really been a test bed of figuring out all these things. And, by having the opportunities of what we do to hang out and meet and connect and learn from all these great luminaries and icons, we'll take pieces of what we see and incorporate them. And so the very first thing, honestly, where this all starts. So if we go back to our diagram, it's you. Right. So I spent a lot of time figuring out what is going to drive me, what gets me excited, and then also kind of kicking the rug out and looking at some of the maybe pieces of me that haven't seen the light of day and aren't necessarily maybe the prettiest or that we want to show to the outside world. Like one of them was never putting 100% in. That was one of my shadows that showed up. And so there was like a pattern that got developed even from, I remember in college, like coming in, smelling a bourbon to like a big exam, being the last one in, borrowing a pencil, being the first one out the door, and getting like a solid B+, B- or whatever. So not putting my full kind of heart and soul into anything. And actually, this Evolved Enterprise is the book. Like that's like I feel like this is the first time that we've really put our heart and soul into stuff in the last few years and what we're doing with Maverick 1000 and then the entire Maverick network. And so, it really forces you to look at, okay, how can I be better? Because what you do is a direct reflection of what's going to show up in your business. And then for us, our cause, everything that we do, like our mission is changing the way business is played. So then our core impact and what we're doing is all wrapped around impact. So for instance, with Maverick 1000, it's a membership driven organization and members pay dues. So right now, a percentage of their dues, 10%, goes into a Maverick Impact Fund, where we will either work with a cause partner and work with them. So we bring them in, brainstorm with them. So, to me, the Maverick members have some of the most nimble, most exceptional entrepreneurial minds around, and get them to brainstorm with these cause partners. And then we also give them funding to go do whatever we just kind of brainstorm and work with them on, and then continued mentorship. And then we also do the same with startups. So that's, part of the way that we work on the impact side of things. And that's how it cascades directly through everything that we do. And then on the culture side, this is still a continued work in progress because, I thought culture was just for like big companies. I thought it was like kind of BS because you couldn't really taste it or it wasn't very tangible to me, but it's always there. And so we've been really working on our, like we call it Maverick DNA, and those are our core values, and working on that and how that shows up everywhere. And so we know we're starting to get this right when there's something called a Net Promoter Score. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, but please explain for the audience.
So Net Promoter Score is one question that you essentially ask your customers, which is on a scale of 1 to 10 or a scale of 0 to 10, how likely are you to refer us or our product or service to a friend or a colleague? And the 9s and 10s count as +1s. The 7s and 8s count as zeros, and the 0s through 6 count as -1s. And so when we just did this. So 2 years ago we were a +76, which was really good for in the scheme of things. And this past one, we were a plus 90, I think plus 92, which is like really off the charts. And so we've been doing this by figuring out how to build this tribe. And so that's the other piece of it, is building a community and all the ways that you can build community. And that's part of Evolved Enterprise as well. So we'll do things like unique language, and we'll do things like creating artifacts, which are wearable pieces that members love to have. Like the Lance Armstrong, like the Live Strong bracelet is a perfect example of an artifact when that got really big. And so you create these communities and tribes. And so that's all part of the Evolved Enterprise as well. And so that's how it all kind of starts piecing together. It's like a jigsaw puzzle, and you can add different parts of it. And it gets really exciting as you start accelerating what you're doing by one and one becoming 11, not just two.
So Yanik, if I could sum this up, what the Evolved Enterprise really sounds like to me is a methodology and at least a conscious effort to turn your business into a platform that's more than just about making money. It's about fulfilling your side, spiritually, if you will. And how do you have the greatest impact that you can possibly have on the world? And I found that, I don't know how you feel, but in the very beginning, when I was first starting my businesses, it was just about making money and survival. And I think that that's where you have to be at that point in your time. But as soon as you really figure it out, your business starts to grow, you start to make money, your bills are paid at that point, then the excitement of making money wears off, if you will, and you have to find a bigger meaning, out there in the world. And, it looks like that's a path that you have taken, a path that I've taken. And I think that it's really awesome that you're bringing that out in a very conscious level for ways so people can really follow in your footsteps, and they don't have to think through this process on their own. They can have a blueprint or roadmap, if you will, so that they can create one of these really fulfilling businesses, starting now.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think most entrepreneurs do start at that level, that security level, right? If we look at Maslow's Pyramid, hierarchy of needs, it's like that foundational security. Yeah, I need to make rent next month, or I need to make rent next day. So what am I going to do? And the surprising thing is when you do start aligning this true, most meaningful work, like what you're almost like what you were designed to do, what your true essence is, like your destiny of greatness, you actually do increase profits. And it almost is I don't know, it's almost like one of those leap and the net will appear kind of things. And you have to have a bit of faith that it's going to happen, but it does happen. And the people, your customers sense a difference, right? Like you're no longer kind of a commodity or you're just transactional. Like there's a different thing going on. And so the sooner you can get to that, honestly, to me, it's more powerful and more exciting. And I think everyone gets there at some point because they do want, like all humans are wired to want deeper meaning and to be part of something bigger. And so we can give that to our team. We can give that to our customers. We can give that to ourselves. Like, I'm driven by this fact of like, I feel like, we have so much talent, so many resources. Like, are you putting your full self into something? And it's like, you can be an entrepreneurial artist in a way, and your business is your canvas, and you can creatively figure out the business model that elegantly pulls in these pieces that, like we talked about, ultra testing, like is so good for other people and for different groups, but it also drives business. Like that's where the artistry part comes from. And it's so exciting to pull those pieces together, and you can make it all, make it all come together. And yeah, some people are going to get there sooner than others, but you can also start from the very beginning and have that baked in and decide that's really important to you. And you're going to bring in people that are about a bigger mission, and you'll get, A players that want to show up and make a difference in the world.
Well, I have to say that's a huge piece that you just hit on, because one of the biggest lessons that I learned when I started EVG is if you base your business around a mission, then it brings so much talent to your door. It opens up so many other doors and creates so much opportunity around your business that just isn't possible otherwise. And so when, I'm sitting here thinking about the hydroponics company that I'm launching in a couple of months, one of the biggest parts of that launch is going to be our overall mission for the business, which is to really put clean, organic pesticide-free food back on, the tables of American families, if you will. And so one of the things that I've been trying to figure out is how can we take that mission and then incorporate, a contribution component to the business as well. And one of the first thoughts that I have for those of you who are going to be thinking about this maybe tonight, around your business is how do we make sure that what our company sells, the product that we produce, and what our mission is, how do we make sure that's congruent with how we're going to incorporate a contribution component? And, for example, we don't want to have a clean food hydroponics business that donates to some completely unrelated organization like who knows what, right?
Right.
I don't know what it is, but clothing or something like that. We want it to be around food, or we want it to be around water, or something that is related. And so that's a question that we're figuring out. And Yanik, do you have any guidelines? Have you acquired any wisdom from the people that you've studied, along this path? You've already walked down this journey, as far as how much you should contribute, or what kind of model, if you will, that you should incorporate into your business, because you see 1% or $1 or 5% or 10%. What's a good starting place? Because you could definitely get yourself into trouble if you don't do that right.
So you gotta look at the metrics, right? Because it's business. It is a business, and the more we can make a bigger impact if we stay in business. And if we go out of business, then we're done making an impact on that side of things. So the numbers have to make sense. And then it's also got to be kind of a meaningful way that, not just sort of a token throwaway, we're going to donate a penny from every transaction, unless you're doing, millions of transactions or something like that. So it's got to be meaningful, or it's got to be like, to me, I think about, okay, what's the direct tie-in? Is there a way that we can create that impact scoreboard that is going to show, okay, these are a metric that we can look at, X amount of lives impacted, number of shoes given away as Tom's does, number of acres saved, whatever it is, like something that is interesting, exciting, and then is a byproduct of our profitability. And so, like, for instance, for yours, like, I think you're absolutely on the right track. It's like, it's got to be food related or water related. And with your deep commitment to charity water, that seems like a perfect setup. Like maybe it's a split donation or a contribution in some way, that it's, X amount goes to charity water and X amount goes to some sort of food project that you guys oversee. One company that I'm thinking of, Mike, that does this in a unique way is Back to the Roots. And you've probably seen them maybe in Whole Foods, where they have these mushroom growing kits, and they have, another product that is, I think it grows like your own herbs and things like that. And so what they do is, they've gotten a tremendous amount of publicity. Like they even have I think a quote from Oprah because of what they've been doing, and Martha Stewart, and like, so that's the other thing that happens with these evolved enterprises is like it gets big people aligned in really unique ways that you couldn't do with a quote unquote regular business. But so what they do, and it's a marketing it's a marketing tactic at its basic source, but it's also how they make their impact. Is they call it grow one, give one. And they said, take a photo with your growing product or a recipe that you created with them, and then upload it. And then for every photo you share with us, we'll donate a ready to grow product to a classroom of your choice. So that's their piece. And then they have another version where they actually donate to a school cafeteria, I believe. And that's, they're pour it forward. So that's one of their ready to eat products. And so like their flakes or breakfast toppers or whatever, and they donate a box of cereal to elementary school cafeteria of your choice. So that's their direct tie-in, and it's linked to a marketing, like almost a viral aspect. So to me,
that's great.
That's pretty smart.
Absolutely. Very cool. Very cool. So tell us a little bit, Yanik, about the book you've got coming out, Evolved Enterprise, where people can get it, what it's about, how they're going to benefit, and let's go from there.
Yeah. So if you go to evolvedenterprise.org/book release, that's a special spot that you can pick up first couple chapters to check it out. I'm going to be giving away at my cost 10,000 copies of it.
Wow.
And, not a not kind of a free campaign. You pay shipping and handling. It's, right up on the site, you're going to see some transparency about what it cost me to print it, what it, costs for postage and handling. So at my cost, you get to pick up a copy of it. And I look at these as 10,000 seeds that can make a difference in the world for entrepreneurs that want to think about maybe reinventing what they're doing in their business, taking a look at how they can add more of their true selves, their true essence to what they're doing. Or if you're just getting started and you're like, okay, I know I want to create a business. I know I want to make a difference in the world. Why not combine that together from the very beginning? And this will give you a full blueprint of how to do it. So it's super exciting. I've literally, I've put my full heart and soul into this book. I'm really, really excited to get it out there. I've been able to get some really exciting blurbs from people that I respect, like Tony Hsieh from Zappos and John Paul DeJoria, who co-founded Paul Mitchell Hair Care and Patron Tequila and a bunch of other people that I really respect and look up to, who all say that this is in total alignment of where business is going. And it's just like, I think that you're going to be at a competitive disadvantage in 4 to 7 years if you're not thinking about some of this stuff. And so why not add it now, and why not doing it in an authentic way that really gets you going?
Yeah, agreed. Love it, brother. And I'll obviously be going through this as we, figure out how we're going to do the same with the hydroponics business. And so the timing personally is perfect. So thank you so much for all of the, the work that you put into this to really, provide guys like myself with a roadmap we can just dive right into and implement. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's so exciting. And then I got 11 models in here that you can look at and think about. And, to me, I learned by looking at a bunch of other companies in different industries, like what are they doing? And that's why you can pick and choose some of the best pieces and bring it back to what makes sense for you.
Awesome. Well, Mr. Yanik Silver, it's so good to connect with you again, brother. It's been too long. And thank you for the impact you've had on my life and the impact you continue to have on, young entrepreneurs through Maverick and what you're doing here through Evolved Enterprise. It's been awesome, brother. It is super cool.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Mike.
Well, guys, go check out the book, pick up a copy, pick up some for your friends. It's evolvedenterprise.org/book release. And you can follow Yanik. I'm sure, Yanik, what is it? YanikSilver.com?
Yeah, that's my personal blog, or a bunch of other places that people can find me.
Go plug into what Yanik's up to. He's always up to something innovative and amazing. One of the biggest mentors I've had in my career. So once again, thank you so much for coming on to the show, Yanik, and good luck with the book launch, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.